going on? Schaunn-Anthony Thomas from 876 Invest. Today we got a kind of different video for you. We realize it's been a minute since we've spoken to the great Mr. Ryan Strachan. So we just decided he had some free time, so we're going to catch up and get his thoughts on the market and see what's going on. Ryan, how are you doing today?
I good, Sean. Good to be back. Big up to all the viewers and all the investors and stakeholders, Hope we can have another productive discussion tonight and add some value to people's lives at the very least. Just get current on what's going on, So I'm looking forward.
Indeed. Yeah, man. So right now we're coming off of an interesting earnings season where we saw a lot of strong profits. We're seeing a lot of interesting moves in the market before these earnings, not a whole heap of run up after the earnings. Interesting signs, the market usually waits for profit before the reaction in Jamaica. So what's going on? What do you think you're seeing with that?
Well, I mean, this earnings season was interesting, as you said. I think one of the numbers that jumped out at me was Cinco. They had a really strong performance. Mm-hmm. And this is in the context of supply chain challenges, COVID, war in Ukraine, inflation globally, which people like myself have spoken about, interest rates going up. I thought they produced results that may have surprised some persons. I mean, personally, I wasn't, but it would have surprised some persons just the strength of the numbers. I think as well, though, it gives good insight into the future and to the rate of transmission of these external influences on the local economy. So overall, I mean, earnings season was muted in part. There's a lot going on in the local markets. I think as well that some companies are delicately poised. Some are on the brink of disruption. I think some are manipulating is a strong word. I think some are disguising their struggles. And I think that time will ultimately reveal that. I think as well, what was also good was we would have seen a number of companies reporting for the first time, like Eddie Focal, Spurtree, JFP. Am I missing anybody? Spurtree, Eddie Focal, JFP. And I create with a report. They had a good quarter. I think they made 10 million profit.
Yeah, surprise people too.
Yeah. I mean,
I remember Berger was interesting to me too.
Yeah, Berger.
Yeah, they had a strong showing that. I mean, I know you're a Berger guy. I normally look at it for you. I've never personally owned it. It hasn't done a lot since I've started investing. But I always look at it. I remember you have this great story about Berger. We spoken about it on this before. Yeah, $2 how much?
Yeah, 2 to 20. I think so, like 20. So I bought it initially because I just thought Berger was going to be a buyout candidate, and it happened at the start. The price was really low. We actually spoke to it at the time when I'd been at Ideal, and we had encouraged persons to reject the offer because the Ideal principals are actually the largest local shareholders in Berger. A lot of people don't know that.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, largest local shareholders. So I mean, the new owners, the Sagba family, have done a really good job in turning around the business in terms of how they present, even aesthetically, how the numbers are presented, how the documents look, but as well the growth and the efficiencies and even growing revenues. I mean, they would have benefited in 2017 from low oil prices, historic lows. Well, that now they're starting to double, profit again. It'll be interesting, and I think it'll be very interesting to see what Christmas looks like.
Agree.
I think there's obvious value and benefit in what's the word I'm looking for? Investing in construction, but I don't think the means to invest in construction is through Carib Cement as of right now. But we've been saying that for a long time, right? So Berger does offer exposure without the risk or the uncertainty. Let's put it that way. One could say with a Carib Cement. Berger did well.
Like a whole percent. Yeah, that's Berger they did very well. But you see, you touch on guys. Today is going to be a bit all over the place because we just haven't spoken to Ryan in a while. Yeah. Ryan is very vocal with his thoughts. For those of you who follow his email, this is his Twitter. Very very vocal. So is you can always find out what's going on. But we just wanted to have a sit down. You touch on a few things that definitely going to jump into rising interest rates. You're one of the first people that I see was on that, like, they got to go up And that's a hot topic of discussion in the news right now, especially between like the JMA and their representatives
Sure.
and what the BOJ is doing.
Sure.
The BOJ is standing firm. What are your real thoughts now?
I mean, I think it's necessary. You have to tackle it head on. There's justifiable arguments on both sides. You have one side saying it's going to make life harder for certain companies in certain sectors. That's a legitimate argument that I think is worth exploring. The other side, the central bank is effectively saying, well, we need to dampen demand to the extent that is necessary.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. I think the more nuanced element of the discussion. I even had conversations about this on Twitter, though I historically just don't argue. I think it's a waste of time. I think when you argue about things that you have to wait to see if you're right on it. Like, it's almost like I feel like you're discounting the value of being right or wrong in a year if you
Yeah.
discuss it that like no, like a DCF in reverse. Anyway, the point is that I think in the local context, it's a matter of who are the drivers of demand, right? And to what extent are they impacted by interest rates? And put in simpler terms, if you're trying to discourage me from borrowing by increasing the interest rate I get in a loan
Yeah.
from 4 to 14%, right? That would work. But suppose I don't need to borrow to buy, then what
True.
happens? You know what I'm
True.
saying? How does that then impact me? And if I represent a large segment of the economy, then it may not have the desired effect as of right now. I think time will tell. I think what we're seeing is inflation, the rate of the increase of inflation is slowing. I mean, I think it was 11 point something, like 11.6 or something like that. It wasn't the aggressive increase that we'd have seen in the months prior. I mean, I'm on record as saying that I thought it was necessary. I thought it was important to get ahead of global rate increases,
Mm-hmm.
which I mean, I've heard people criticizing the Fed already for being slow on the draw.
Mm-hmm.
I believe
Me being
that,
one of them.
yeah, I think it's as well. I think that the rates, let's say supply chain disruption, whatever. I don't know if it's as extreme as it was before, but we're still seeing issues of price increase, inflation, blah blah blah. For what all manner of different reasons. I think capital flight's another issue. If you can get 5% in the US dollar or 5% in Jamaica, you know what people are gonna do. Right?
Yep.
So I thought it was a proactive move, it was a bold move. And I'm not sure about the impact it will have on some of the sectors that they're clamoring right now. I think we'll have to wait and see. To wait and see. I believe it's better to act and reverse than not act. That's my
Fair.
that's my
I mean,
position.
I'm also in support of the races, and I mean, as you and I would have spoken privately about
Yeah.
before everything. I was like, yeah, I'm a fan because my major thing was, as you said, that same capital flight thing was like, if I had the option, I would take the US dollar without a doubt.
So
So you have to be proactive. You can't wait until the Fed start raising rates to start reacting. At that time, people are already making decisions. So yeah, I mean
absolutely.
that's very interesting. The
The other
inflation.
school,
Go ahead.
the other school of thought is that it would impact the capital markets. And somebody called me and said, "Do you think you're going to see less fewer IPOs because of rate increases?" I said, "Well, you probably see more in the sense that it's not going to impact on funding mix
Agreed.
or financing mix. So rather than leaning heavily towards debt, it'll be a shift towards equity, which I think creates a balance. And I think the discussion has to be in the context of the specific economy in question. Remember, USA is a heavily credit driven environment. It's very easy for transmission or for shifts in monetary policy to make its way through the US economy. With Jamaica, with our large remittance inflows, the black market, where the high usage of cash and all the other things that we know Jamaica for, it may be a bit more challenging to have the changes translated in policy, translated in consumer patterns from a unofficial level. It's really hard to tell. Which is
Indeed.
why, for instance, it was said, well, Again, I believe that the right decision should be made. And this is not inflation, interest rates, but they said indirect taxation would be more effective in Jamaica than direct for the same reasons. People have to buy gas. So if you're hustling, illegal hustling, you're buying gas and drive a car, you're gonna have to buy gas. The gas station don't care where you get the money from. This one you pay for your gas.
True.
You could be a mom overseas who sends some money, part monthly, and every returns money you take it to someone to buy gas. No, that's not going to be caught in a tax return.
Mm-hmm.
PAYE. It's not going to be caught because
Not
that's
being caught at
outside the
all.
net. So the informality of our economy, I believe, makes these things a bit more tricky to assess. And I don't think textbooks will prescribe or determine whether one is ultimately right or wrong. Because if we know you can be completely right based on what you were taught, and then the reality is
Mm-hmm.
completely
Completely
opposite.
different.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I fall on it. I think there's been a good discussion. I think as well, though, rates are not going to go back to the basement level that they were,
Oh, definitely.
and we have to be mindful of that.
Mm-hmm.
They are artificially held overseas, especially to stimulate the economy in light of the world financial crisis.
Mm-hmm.
And even before you had the whole Ukraine thing and inflation and COVID, there's discussion about when are we going to come off the floor with interest rates because they're being held down there artificially
Mm-hmm.
for a protracted period. So I mean, if the base rate really should be 2 or 2.5, then effectively, if the Fed gets there, they're just breaking even. They haven't really started to raise rates yet.
Yep.
It's how far above that do they go? That's when I think we'll really start to see changes.
So I'm saying that I do agree that a lot of people are watching that, and that's when we're going to see a real set of changes. Because even though central banks around the world have begun raising rates because they think it's time, when you see, we all know that the US is the center
Yeah,
of a lot of things. So when the US when they start moving aggressive with their rates, I said,
yeah, follow the leader, no? I mean,
yeah. So when we see the US start going aggressive, aggressively raising rates, especially as they surpass that 2.5 level, I think
yeah,
you're gonna see a lot more changes globally when it comes
yeah,
down to the response and the impact on different economies.
yeah. And I think as well, in addition to that, the central banks, I mean, they're smart economists, they'll be fine, but there's going to come a point where inflation is going to stall.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's going to be an element of, I don't foresee demand slowing. And this is one of the things that I've heard people mention but not speak
Mm-hmm.
to at length. And it is simply this: unemployment here and the US are at record lows.
Yep.
So more people working. So where's the demand going to disappear to? Right?
I want to step into that point a little bit too, because the hot debate about it is what kind of jobs make up um, this employment and like
Mm.
what kind of demand is it. So for example, the kind of demand that like interest rates would be pushing back on house buying, car buying, those kind of major spending, right?
Right. Right.
uh a lot of these jobs, I don't have the exact numbers off the top, but it's people always saying, a lot of BPO jobs and low paying stuff. So those people wouldn't necessarily be was affected. So do you think that unemployment in Jamaica is the best factor to use as the driver of demand, or is it that people who would have had the money or would have been in positions, but
Mm.
also because of COVID physically couldn't spend a lot of the money? And I mean, we know that there was opportunity in markets both locally and overseas, so you could have made a lot more money. Um,
Yeah.
and we saw businesses that perform strong. So do you think it's more those people that would have had money being able to know do what they want, or the
Well, I mean, it's like this, right? So
Mhm.
the way I think about work and employment and all that is like this. So and I've been unemployed before. So when I wasn't working, I had to either spend what I had saved or big parents or whatever, which wasn't really happening a lot anyway.
Mhm.
But so when you work, right? That's how I put it. When people go to work, they have to get transported there.
Mhm.
That's gas, taxi, blah blah blah. Right? They
Mhm.
have to eat lunch. to buy clothes. Company buy clothes to them, whatever. That is demand.
Yeah, man. True.
You know what I'm saying? If they're not going to work, then there's no cook shop beside the BPO. I think there's a point that yes, one could argue that there are some low wage jobs. The whole thing of working for home and overseas is a real thing. But I think as well that I don't see how we lose having more people in a structured environment. It would be like,
Again.
it's like when I compare it to, it's like when people were saying back in the day that the junior market's a waste of time because companies only raising $50 million and it's startups going in the market and whatever. But I said to them, yeah, but if the startup grows, then don't they employ more people? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Encourage more
Yeah, it
companies.
has to go through the stage.
Yeah, so I mean, we're not all going to be new. What's the word? This probably shows why we're not all going to be that. We're not going to all be like neurologists. That's a profession, or the rocket scientist or whatever. I mean, and it's going to be comprised of several job types. As I said to you, I don't knock anybody who's going to work and being productive. I mean, of course, one could say, yeah, well, some people need to be BPO because of this, is that, or whatever. I could say the same thing about audits. Them junior auditors not making the money. The same thing about law. The young learners not making it. They make mistakes, I know. But eventually they grow and they start to make a bit more. That's just the reality.
True.
So I think that we are seeing an increase in aggregate demand. Now I think another point though, which is a really solid point, is our GDP per capita is still low, and that we need to get up. But that I think it manifests itself in a lot of stuff that we do. So I was in, I actually had this conversation literally 3 hours ago. I was in St. Martin the other day, and I remember I was looking at the prices of things, and I was like, this is pretty expensive.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tourist-driven environment and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Relatively speaking, I should say. Yeah, because I accept my privilege. I may not feel it the same way because to me, it's just you pay for something. But relative to
Mm-hmm.
Jamaica, it's still a lot more expensive.
Yeah.
So I think for us, it comes out on two ends. Of course, salaries have not kept up with cost of living. Fine, I don't think anybody needs to deny that. Right?
Here, here.
But at the same time as well, I don't think you can lose from having people go to work. Remember one time, youth unemployment out here was 38% in the bus.
True.
If you don't have young people get up and going to work, what do you think you're doing for yourself? What are you creating for yourself in 10
Yeah.
years?
Problem.
Do you have a
Loan problem.
do you have a productive society? Come on.
True.
But
But
at the
right,
same
enough of
time,
the youth also now get employed.
true. But why is
Enough
that?
what depends. Of course, you have the usual ones. Where it's the profession. There may not be a lot of opportunity
Hmm.
in a particular area. But some of them is still the experience and the COVID. The company is not taking the risk on us youngsters when the money so tight.
Yeah, that's tricky. I was younger once, and I had to. Sometimes I have to just go on, go on, go on, go on.
Yeah, you have to
You
go
want
on.
your foot in the door, you want your foot in the door. You
Mhm.
know. But we hire. I know it's not employment talk. I've hired, and I've been dismayed sometimes with the quality I get. I think though, what the truth is this, right?
Mhm.
There are some areas that are dying for people with experience, with talent,
Mhm. Talent.
right? So like, if you have like manufacturing, like factory floor interest,
Mhm.
you will get over because all of them. I mean, if you even assess like junior market manufacturers, at least few of them have general managers. They're led by their founders.
Mhm.
That's untenable.
True.
But the founder can't fly out to go look business and the
Kind
GM
of
on the
fair.
factory floor.
Yeah.
So there's talent for that. And I can tell you for a fact because they asked me for any GM recommendations I may have, not the companies I listen on necessarily, but just generally speaking. By the way, it's large and small. It's not just a small company.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the wedding. Everybody wants to sit in the office.
True.
You know, I mean,
Because people not thinking about that kind of job for real.
my industry.
So everybody fighting about the same space.
Absolutely. So I think so we produce a lot of lawyers, accountants.
Somebody must get left, man.
And that's good. Yeah, we produce a lot of professionals, and it's a function as well of how the economy may have been at one time. We had professional services, we had the art manufacturer, but that was really it. Now we have a much more robust and diverse economy. We're getting further.
Mm-hmm.
But if you need a GM, you can't get him in Jamaica, her in Jamaica. You can fly out and hire the person. It's just what it is. The business can't stop. I think so. I mean, it's gonna. I think youngsters are gonna have to persevere. It's difficult. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think I had a rough enough time. My time as well. My time has passed. Um, but it's gonna require some bending as well, in the sense that people have to do some things they may not be comfortable with, like taking a job that may not be as glamorous.
Mm-hmm.
It may require a lot of hours on the road. I mean, it's another controversial topic. People talk about work-life balance. I think is very important.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes the work just
I forget done.
I mean,
Yeah.
we're filming this at 10:49. Can tell that. No, how much people going to that? People are like, I
Yeah,
for
that's
us to
true.
do.
Yeah, and it's not the first to doing it neither. I think all of our videos have been shot down in them 11 o'clock midnight hours. Yeah.
But them look and say, and bad mind the fact that you get views on a video. But them don't know, say your eyes are bleed when you do it.
Yeah, I think I'm in my bed and I say, oh, General, all right, I forget up back.
It is what it is. It's just so it go, and I think that's just part of the reality. I did for what I do. I'm never in one place. And when I started, it wasn't no glamour thing. The analysts were the bright guys.
Mm-hmm.
I could have been an analyst in the sense of the typical, keyboard analyst. I just didn't want that. And I said we have to do things differently. And as I said to you, if there are young people who want like work in a factory, to go put on overalls and learn about machines and things and build a business, there's a lot of it.
Yeah, that stuff is fun too.
That's a fact. There's a lot of it. But if you want to be CFO or accounts manager or something, then you're going to have to be prepared to compete with other people.
Yeah, out there. Every day LinkedIn email me. 10 new job for accounting. By the time you log on, 3 of them gone. You're like, all right.
Yeah, okay, you have accountants at all ages and stages who lost their jobs, huh? Over the last, I would say, once you get too senior in like fixed roles, you become expendable, which is why I said to people as well. You better get on your tail and work, because when you hit the wall at 40, because you're not driving value at an extraordinarily high level, you become expendable for the next young person.
Yeah.
So they cut the roll in 3 and they hire 3 22-year-olds. And they repeat the cycle again, unless of course somebody becomes a real value creator. So for me, I was like, yo, I'm not leaving my destiny in nobody's hands. I did that once and then I like it.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, it was just circumstantial. This was years ago. I said, I need to build a better mousetrap myself.
Mm-hmm.
If I go to the streets and hustle and sell stocks at the time when it wasn't popular, and sell enough to make money and create a client base that I could grow myself, then so be it. So it took 4 years, but we got there. So anyways, that's the employment story. I think people at work is never a bad thing. And I think as companies and economies grow, they can pay more, whatever that looks like. But it always required to come together for there to be a substantial change. So like now you have more companies listed in the junior market. You only get paid as much as the value you create.
True.
So yes, you can raise it 20%, but the person who can say, well, boss, I never just did your work. I added $10 that you never would have added before. That's value. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think about it like this. I could work if I worked at Microsoft, I make $100,000 a year, US.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When you look out, so I look at Bill Gates or Paul Allen or my guy there, rest in peace, Paul Allen. What's my guy's name? Steve Ballmer. Who's like billions. I'm like, 100 grand look kind of small relative to billions.
Yeah.
It's just that it's a higher floor. You see what I'm saying? But at
Mhm.
the same time, you have people in Silicon Valley who making that who can buy close to them, yeah, them for rent. But they may say we need a livable wage. I can't live where they are.
Fair.
That's the truth because
That's very true. That's very true. Housing in the US work like that is crazy. It's like everybody has to make millions. All right, house them cost millions. Cool.
Fine. So you're making 200 grand, okay? Very nice.
Yeah, house cost millions. What you gonna do?
It's like I'm bridging in New York. That's not the guy. He's telling me pay $5,000 rent a month, right? It's like, how big's the place? It's like 800 square feet. I'm like, bro, that's like a hotel, a big hotel room.
Wow.
5 G's.
Yeah,
5G in Jamaica gets at Jackson Yard, like 10,000 square feet.
You're up there cooling, man.
So yeah, you have security and all that. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
I talk to people, I say, yo, focus on creating value. You're talking baseline thing. I'm not saying you have to go on your own, but I think creating value is universal. And that is what I think is suited to the economy as of right now. Because as wages go up, you still can't buy a yard in Cherigan. So that's why you want you can get, you know.
Yeah.
And then maybe it's just a fact. And
100 million an hour, man.
I can't. Grab a Cherigan yard with that. And then if you get it, you can't maintain it. Unless, of course, you find a way to raise
Yes, sure.
raise
Yeah.
it
Makes
to
sense.
anything and create value. So
I don't think value creation is very important, but I don't think it's something that gets touched on in the broader space often. You know, I mean, like if once you come inside of like the finance space and everything, of course you start hearing it all the time. You know, where's the value? Where's the value? 'Cause it comes with the investing. It comes with, as you said, job creation, where you're hiring people. Because as I said, I mean, you say you only get paid the value you create. You get paid less than that. Because they have to make a profit off of you. You don't know, but it is business. That's the way it is. You know. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it gets touched on in the broader space anywhere near often. You know, people don't get it, but then there's sometimes people don't want to hear it too. But
they think it's just going to work and coming home. And it's not, I said I don't mean it like disparaging them. Like, I'm not talking nothing about. I'm just being general. It's a lot more than unless of course. I mean, one just wants that regular existence, and there's nothing wrong with that because regular is regular for a reason. That's going to be the masses in anything. You know, I think I just what I'm saying though is you have people who have lower paying jobs who make do what they have for the time, but through the whole advancing of self, they themselves now grow and advance and able to go further and further and further. You know, I know a lady. This is a personal example. I know somebody who is in that business still. She benefited from a transaction involving her company that paid out, when they were bought. But she just created value in her space at a very high level. But she wasn't old either. She wasn't. And this was some time ago, So I think it's doable. I mean, Patrick Castle, it's on record. He sold his business for tens of millions of US. He was one of the BPO pioneers locally. That's just a long time ago. So it's probably going 15, 16 years ago.
Yeah, even Carrie told us when he first came back to Jamaica, he started 2 BPOs at that time too. So,
Yeah. So look at Carrie, for instance. I actually like that interview a lot.
Thank you.
It was a good one.
My favorite one that I've been on so far. You know, that's my space, that private space. That's where I want to go. So I was excited to do it.
Oh, it's cool. I actually I really enjoyed watching it. But so people said this, that, whatever. Oh yeah, I've done well. He's done extraordinarily well. But guess what? He came back home at a time when people that said you're a lunatic to come back to Jamaica.
To come back, yeah, that's true.
Right? And then he built a bit. Bear in mind, at the time, there was no robust capital market. There were no IPOs then in a Virgin. There wasn't this thing where you have this wide shareholder pool of people that's willing to dash money at ideas.
Yeah.
And they're throwing money at half-baked ideas. No disrespect to anybody, but that's a fact. Them time was a difficult slog. Capital was a scarce commodity. But you stick with it long enough and you focus on what you have to focus on, you get it done.
Yeah, with proper vision and execution, you can pull through, man. And the
Yeah,
dedication, very key.
absolutely.
It's kind of turning a motivational video.
I got more personal I even wanted to. So it's like that's 876
That's cool. You know what going around. You always draw you out on this channel.
I know. So it's like
Talk to me about inflation a little bit though, because hot topic, right? And as you
yeah,
said, there's some easing with the global supply chain challenges. There has
yeah,
been some easing. It's still significantly worse than before, as I gather it, but
yeah,
not as bad as the worst of it. And then
yeah,
you have this China COVID zero policy
yeah,
that is throwing the whole planning and all of the models into whack, because next week the entire model can change.
yeah.
Well, so
Then you have
two part. Yeah, go ahead.
you
Share your
have
thoughts.
it's a supply chain, you have China, you have oil created by the war, the Ukraine oil
Yeah.
issue, and speculation that the US was gonna sanction Russia and Germany was not gonna take oil from Russia anymore. Yeah, right. And OPEC plus wasn't going to increase production, which I think is actually a fair assumption. And then in the oil now and the war now and the impact on wheat, food security, the whole matter of food prices. So those are legitimate metrics to watch. That I think could
Something
really
interesting
grow.
as well. I'm gonna watch. We're recording this. What is this? Oh my days. My watch is in between. So we're on the 26th, going into the
Yeah,
27th.
yeah.
Yeah. So as at the 26th, I just got an article on my phone saying that it is planned. I don't know. It's a Bloomberg article, so it's I'm willing to say this on public before there's anything further coming out about it. But it says that the U.S. and Taiwan are planning to deepen economic ties. You saw it?
Never saw it, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. So I'm wondering what the backlash from that may be too with China. So you know their stance.
One China, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I think that is some geopolitical. That's speculation. Has material implications for stability globally. I
Globally.
think. Yeah, I
Hmm.
think. If I was to bet, I can't even say if I was a betting man. If I was to bet, I would bet that uh, the tensions do not escalate because it's in nobody's best interest for that to happen. One thing I do know is if China, if a fight is on, China is going to fight,
True.
right? I don't think the USA wants that fight to happen.
I don't. I think I personally I think it's a response to the what was it? China did some plane flying over some areas the other day with Russia.
Yeah, but possibly. I don't remember. I don't
I,
remember
I
that.
don't I don't remember what the details of it was, but there was some joint thing where you would have said like Russian planes were flying over an area and Chinese planes were flying not over like Ukraine itself, but one of those other areas
Right.
along the. And so they did a flyover, no damage or nothing, but they did a flyover. I think it could be something like related to that. You know how those guys go. It's deeper than the music, but
Sure.
but bring it back to the inflation.
Sure.
Bring it back to the inflation. So how are we thinking about inflation going forward? As you said, it kind of we've seen
It's
the
it's
beginnings of a slowdown so far.
but it's still
But
elevated, eh? Um, I have the article right here. When you mentioned
mhm.
it, let's pick it up. U.S. plans economic talks with Taiwan in latest chat to China. Taiwan was included in Biden's new regional initiative. Bilateral economic talks be announced in coming weeks. Beijing, which has cautioned Washington on its relationship with the island. Economic cooperation, supply chain resiliency, trade for the supply chain work. Yeah, one of the things actually I thought about, and I'd written it down when the whole supply chain madness happened at first was that we may find some diversification where that's concerned because no longer confirmed. And I mean, risk managers would have to incorporate a diversification of supply chain sources at the very least,
Mhm.
just because you can't risk one country going down again and then causing your whole business to collapse. Because remember, unavailability of products impacts the seller, the wholesaler, the retailer, the ports, the advertiser, the social media companies,
The
blah blah blah,
whole thing,
and that's a
every
whole
single.
chain of people.
Hmm.
That's in practice. So what do I think about inflation? It can't go up forever. I can see a peak and a slowdown over the next year. I think the real litmus test will be Christmas to see what it looks like from the availability of product standpoint. Thanksgiving weekend, Christmas, because those orders would have been placed already.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's November, so that's 6 months.
Yeah, so
So
that
I
would have
think
been too.
when we see the numbers for the end of the third quarter, which is September, so those numbers in the US will go out by like mid-October. That will tell us everything that we need to know
Mm-hmm.
for this
Yeah.
year and next year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I share that assessment on timeline. I'm not sure where it's gonna go though. I have no real thoughts on where it's gonna go, where it's gonna peak, where it's gonna turn back. But I do think on the timeline it will peak and begin to decrease in the next year or so.
Yeah, it can't go forever, but it's gonna
Yeah.
no, okay. But you're gonna see as well. One of the things again is demand. And people are now saying, "Why
Mm-hmm.
China not spending as much money and that will impact luxury and blah 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 blah." I don't know about that. I don't know. I think once the world starts to reopen, which it has already,
Mm-hmm.
then we're gonna see more activity. But people just been listen. I never traveled for 2.5 years because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Give
And
the people some context, right? How often were you traveling before COVID?
the last part, in the last part, it was almost like every 2 weeks. Um, in 2 years, not even, never even went to the airport.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I think I have traveled like I think 3 times since the middle of March. I think,
This guy.
but not business. That's a mix of stuff. The point is that we're just starting to see activity pick up again
Mm-hmm.
because people been cooped up forever.
Indeed.
So I think there's also, which is what I don't think we should discount in the whole measure of assessing things, is the human emotion side of it and the toll that would have taken a person. So I've said to people, listen, you can't just apply your standard economic theory and leave that alone because you have to take some qualitative elements into your considerations because I don't know if that book was written in the context of a pandemic and a world that was more connected than ever.
Exactly.
When the book was written, you're probably sending messages by like birds. you know? you
All
know?
right. All right.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but no, I agree with that. 'Cause let me tell you too. Let me tell you where I've even seen it personally. So I'm not a party guy from before, right? I mean, I party, but I'm not like a regular party guy. Some people out there every week or every month in or whatever. I just party when I feel like.
Mhm.
I buy four party ticket already, and I jump in Carnival this year.
Right.
So,
Full
yeah,
YOLO.
yeah, I can't. I'm like, bro, I haven't done anything. I mean,
Yeah.
like, I used to go and link up with the man them over
Yeah.
somebody else or whatever. But I mean, like, it's completely different. Me
Yeah.
and you used to link up or we do those things, those one-off things. But I mean, like, this is completely different.
Yeah. No, it's and that's the thing. Those are the things that have to be factored in the mix as well. In fact, seeing Bloomberg, there's an article, I should pull it up, where they're saying that more spring breakers and just people on a whole are taking when the article literally said YOLO vacations, because they're saying, listen, we don't know if we're going to be stuck in the house again and can't go outside. It's so crazy
Yep.
because I remember like even during like the no movement days, I remember there was one day and I was so just aggravated and tired of feeling like a prisoner in my own house. I remember there was like you had Monday and Tuesday, right? You couldn't leave.
Mhm.
I mean, unless of course you had a reason to leave.
Yeah.
I remember I played football the Saturday morning. I came
Mhm.
home and I did not open the front door again until Wednesday.
Wednesday. The no
And
movement they catch me in the country already, man.
really,
Yeah, I had to change a hotel reservation while I was there for because
that is
um
crazy.
made a booking and thing and me and Kelly. 'Cause Kelly and I were taking advantage of the fact that hotels were cheap in the middle of the
Yeah, of
pandemic.
course, of course.
Yeah, so we were like, yo, let's dig it. I think we went maybe 5 or 6.
Nice,
You know.
nice, nice,
So
nice.
but so one of them we got to make the reservation and everything, and that one actually was the worst one for it happened because that one was other people were flying in from overseas.
Oh man.
Um there and they're like, so this one was clearly last year. But um so some people were flying in from overseas and were linking up, and the man said no movement. I think what was it? Labor Day Monday.
What?
Man said no movement.
Oh my
I have to
goodness.
change the thing and wake up 5 o'clock the Tuesday morning from down in the mobile and beat
Oh,
it come and work with me. It was
no,
just crazy.
oh,
Beat it come in, drop off my sister at the house. Kelly car was here. So she jumped in her car and went to work and I went to work. And I was like, come on, look at that. Look at that.
that is wild.
That was
That's
insane,
wild,
man.
man. That's wild.
Insane.
No, it's crazy. But the point is that has an impact on a person. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
we can't deny that. It's just the reality. You know, and I think that's gonna inform how people spend.
Agreed.
You know, and it's gonna make it very difficult to gauge demand in that case.
I think that, and the other thing too is our data is just like it's data is kind of hard to access out here, especially when you have certain random thoughts and you go off the line and then you look at like comparable data points in the US and you're like, what you know, where can I
Yeah.
find this? And you're like, huh? You're like,
You have to go wait 3 months to get it because
they have to collect some data and say,
yeah, I mean,
we have some things that can put together and give you that information, but we don't track that by itself.
yeah, it's just not. We don't have it.
It's hard, and then you have to spend a bag of money to
Yeah,
get this data and all kind of things. And
we don't have it.
it's not fair, you know.
No,
But then people have it's not the same access to information.
correct.
If I have some grants and I willing to spend, I can have a thought. For example, big up Justin. Justin one time paid for some data to get wind speeds to kind of predict how Wigton was going to perform. I hope he doesn't mind me saying this on the air, but yeah, you got the data for the area,
Right.
wind speed data to kind of get up an idea of what the production would have been looking like comparison. It was like a 5-year back period.
That's cool. I mean, that's true, like civil aviation or something like that.
I don't remember which agency, but yeah, it was one of those agencies he went to and I forget him a little thing and got it.
Yeah,
I mean, as I say, some you can get it, but it's
Right.
sometimes the time, sometimes the cost associated, you know.
and I think for whatever reason, I'm sure there must be some like something tied to our makeup. I think the word is physiology. Why we just don't have this appreciation for information in this country. I think like when I'm trying to get stock market things from like 1999, it's difficult. It's just not digitized yet. And I could be, don't hold me to 1999. It could be 1985.
The point remains. I mean, but let me tell you, I've been trying to do a FinSac video for like 6 months, trying to piece through that. FinSac, like one of the biggest things in Jamaica's history.
Yeah.
If I piece through article and piece through this and get anecdotal evidence from the man with the debut and the man with the debut and link up mommy and say, mommy, who you know what it is. It's difficult because like you get pieces, but nobody really tells you what was going down. And I mean, like you get the story because as you know, we have people we can speak to can tell you what it got on. But if I don't want just I'm gonna have to edit out a piece of this part. But yeah, I don't want just have people come on and tell me the story. I want us to go through and be like, yo, people, this is a collective thing for FinSac for Jamaica. So like when you look, you're like people be like, yo, want to have FinSac something that we put it together and put it out. But yeah, it's access to data is difficult, especially older data. The further back you get, the more difficult it is.
And I just add to what you said. You don't want to be relying on anecdotes. You want that empirical evidence.
Yep.
That source. I mean, that's just, I think, standard best practice in anybody in research. You get the source. Okay, fine. You may not get. So you want to get the direct source, reputable publication, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Further down the chain you go, if it's a journalist account, then that may be secondary, and then you have what do you call it? What's the term? It's a kind of funny term. Yeah, not urban legend. There's another term put like message boards and thing like that. Just what do you call it? It's not correspondence. It's Lord.
Come on, contact man. I don't do research like that.
It's less reliable information, So you want that primary stuff, and you just don't. I'm sure starting will have a lot of stuff, but then to go. I mean, I don't know if I can. Last time I tried to use a website, I couldn't get what I wanted the way I wanted it. Yeah. I went down there, pretty sure I could get it, but I don't have to do it.
That's the trouble, man. You too busy, and I got a 9 to 5.
I can't. If I can do it in my computer on the phone, perfect.
It'd be great. Yeah. That's the kind of level I need us to get to.
So hopefully we'll do a better job of that going forward. But we do.
Yeah, I mean, big up the tax office for digitizing a lot of their stuff.
Absolutely.
So we file our taxes online. I can't tell when last I've been to the tax office for anything other than vehicle registration, which is also supposed to be coming online.
Hope so. That's just low hanging fruit. But you know as well though, Sean, what that's gonna mean for it's not just gonna impact on convenience. It's gonna create economic growth because
Mm-hmm.
now you won't have to stand up in a line for 3 hours anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
Good
I was having
work.
that discussion in the week. Say, you have tax office for go and you have bank for go. You just take a day from work and do it.
Bridget, I mean, when I get speeding tickets, I don't get them anymore. I don't get many anymore. Hopefully, that's not an indication coming. It's the easiest thing to be able to pay them online.
Yep. Go through.
Pay it, done. The only thing that upset me about it is when you get the thing about thanks for your contribution to national development.
Yeah, and you're like, bro, like, yo.
I'm just like, no, you're just throwing salt in the wound.
Yeah, you're trying to upset me.
Exactly.
You're trying to.
I don't
You
want
already
your,
got me. You
you
got me.
catch me, and that's
I
it.
got
No
to pay you the
more,
money. But
yeah, we don't want more thanks.
Yeah,
No
no
more
more chatting, son.
You know what I mean?
Just give me my receipt and let me go.
Absolutely. Don't patronize me about thank you.
Yeah.
So that's the economy. I think there's a lot going on. It's going to be the time when I think some bankers and brokers really earn the money, and I think it's gonna be a wild ride for next year.
Mm-hmm.
I think I understand why banks are hesitant to pass on rate increases because I think they themselves, and I heard uh, Dr. Adrian Stokes mention it today, that they themselves may not be sure where everything is going. So they are reluctant to establish a hard and fast position on anything for fear of having to unwind it
Yeah,
shortly
shortly
after
thereafter.
notice. But with all being said, though, there's going to be some measure of a return of reality to what we're seeing where loan rates are concerned. You just kind of have the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
loan rates being higher than Jamaica. Jamaica is an emerging market. The U.S. is not. The first world is going to set the rates. That's just how it
Mm-hmm.
goes. And I think we'd be better off being proactive than reactive.
Yeah, big up all of those who are getting the low rates up to right now. I mean, big up my car loan at 4.
Yeah, yes, that's cool. That's it.
Yeah, that's
And I said it. I tweet that to the extent that persons can, they should lower their debt burden once it's not like essential. And I say essential, I mean like car loans, mortgages, whatever. That you can not about that, but
yeah.
if you have a credit card debt, you're gone on vacation with your whomever.
Cut that.
When you can pay it down, just pay it down because you just
Cut that. Yeah, it don't make no sense. Yo, credit cards are scary. We should do a video on credit cards one day. Just yeah, let me tell you. I think the problem with credit cards is just that people don't get the downside. They hear about all the upside and they don't understand the downside. Because credit cards, once you know how to work it, one of the greatest things in the world.
I mean, listen, I said this, right? And I forgive me, I've just not built this way. I don't know how to spend what I don't have.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, if you know, like for me, this is me now.
Mm-hmm.
If I have $100, I know I can spend 90.
Mm-hmm.
You don't spend the last dollar either, right?
Yep.
If I have 10, I know I can spend it. Now, whether I spend it via cash in hand or a credit card that eventually pays the cash in hand eventually pays the bill. Don't really matter to me because I know I have $9 to spend.
And that is the key. That is the key, though.
I am not thinking I have a $5 million limit on one card, so I have $5 million. I mean, I may have $5 million, but that's not dictated by my credit card limit.
True. But that's the key part is that people don't fully understand.
I can't understand how people like buy things and it's like them don't know it when pay for.
I mean, remember, so we understand money to a way in our. Because we get it. I mean, you have always had that kind of mentality. I mean, based on our discussions, where you always have to have something and you have to hustle feet. But not everybody have the mentality, I mean, even like so myself, I have a spending problem, right? I know that about myself. I have to structure my thing in a way. So like when my pay hits my account the following morning, midnight, it distributes the money to where I need it to go to investment, savings, etc., etc. whoever need to get a little contribution. I don't even have a manual input in that, because once I begin to spend, I'm gonna have a problem.
Sure.
So I know that about myself. So I mean, I have to do that, but not everybody is firstly aware of those things or knows how to correct it. So I mean, I'm trying to work on spending less, but in the meantime, you set up the thing in a way so that all obligations get met. But what happens to the man who don't understand that? Him just realize, say, by the time the money come, the money gone. Him don't fully get what is going on. Don't understand him little cash flow and those kind of things. Those are the people who get caught up and don't understand interest rates and those kind of things. I mean, I not myself, but personal people close to me who have had major credit card debt and had to pay it off, and it's through reasoning. Sometimes myself reasoning, sometimes other family members who are themselves knowledgeable about finance and money. Got to reason with them and say, all right, cool, this is how you're going to have to structure it and pay it down, because they just didn't understand. It was just like, oh, I have this. Or one to the people like life it,
Yeah.
You got some books and you're trying to manage it well, and you have a kid, and then all of a sudden kid need to go to hospital, middle of the month. You did run the credit card thing properly. I mean, sure. Those people, sure, you should be able to jump it back in the coming months and do it, but we don't know what the incidence is. Them kind of thing, they can run up very easily. I just think it's something we should educate wholly about, and I don't think we get the total perspective as is. People just get the that you get it, you spend, the bill comes at the end of the month and you pay. But I don't think people understand fully the minimum payment and what that really means, and the way how these interest rates thing come up, the level of aggressiveness that credit card interest rate carry. I don't think it's fully explained to people.
I mean, I'm not frugal.
Me, I use 8% per month and start fretting, and other people say 8% per month and feel like it's an annual rate.
Right.
So people like me, I use 8% per month and would have started fret.
I mean,
and then feel like it's an annual rate, because them little thing that
Yeah, I mean, this is like, I just listen, and I'm wondering. My read is that financial. So I'd say it anytime I speak somewhere, I'm not a frugal person at all. I love what I do, so it doesn't feel like work, but it's a lot of work. I work hard, and I feel like if there's something I want within reason, especially at this stage of my life, I want it, man. It's simple as that. And it don't matter what it is. I mean, it may mean that I have kept my wants within what's reasonable. But the point, because it's not like in 5 years I may want 10 cars either. That's just not my thing. Right? But I think what I was getting at is, I think financial planning mechanisms are only as effective as the personality of the person involved. So I say to people, once they're in like variable income earning situations, focus on making more money. Don't focus on saving more, because the same energy you may be taking to cutting back this and that, you could be using to try and find ways to grow the revenue pool. And so I said, like people in sales and whatever. If you're on stable income, then you have to manage it well. I can't budget because I don't know. I mean, I have an idea what my base will be. Generally speaking, I know what I'm not going to make below just based on activity that I can track from the month before, but I can't tell you the upside. It's impossible. I can guess. But the point I'm making is that, so my focus is on earning more. I guess where I'm going with it is, many times I've heard people put forward, I call this become a financial planning talk. A lot of times people put forward, oh, you need to structure this and have this budget and whatever, and it's very important. But we're financial planners, I suppose because most of them aren't rich, they're probably not able to inform people. You get to a point where your budget's like your foundation, but you can't live in the foundation of your house. You have to put up columns and walls and roof and bed and TV and all that in there. So the budget is supposed to inform, very importantly, to give you an appreciation for expenses. And for managing what you have within the context, or imagine what you spend on within the context of what you generate. The thing with why credit cards can be harmful is because they can bulk the budget, because you can have the pleasure of spending and getting a thing without paying for it. So you may make $100 and you spend 90, but then you have $100 on your credit card. That's there,
Yep.
and then the repayment becomes a line item. But then I said to people, yeah, but the line item is actually part coming from a much bigger liability that you don't see in your budget, because your budget monthly is operational expenses in the country. If you talk about like as a business, a liability like that is like long-term debt on your balance sheet. It's not even a payable, because payable during a year, you can carry a credit card bill for 10 years.
Yep.
Balance.
And that's rack up point. It's crazy. And that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. If the
But
people don't know what they're getting into.
But I like credit cards because, so if I'm a heavy spender, which I am, because the stuff just happens. I'm a heavy investor too, so at least salvation come from that. But and I don't sell my investments readily. The point though is investment throw me off fully. So when you love something, it just comes up your brain, just goes haywire. Where I was going with it is, credit cards with expenditure.
Soon go back in that, man.
I get points. Points translate to plane tickets. I travel by myself a lot.
Locus.
Huh? I travel by myself a lot.
That's it. The cost fund the trip.
There you go. So sometimes, but when I'm traveling for 2 hours, and I'm paying for 2 hours, then you get, and the ticket's not always cheap either, because just based on where I sit or whatever. So the point is that it's very helpful.
I ain't like a regular man place neither, bro. You don't know what I did.
It's pretty.
I was in St. Martin the other day. How much people? How much people? That's what I'm saying. You ain't go.
It's a nice place, by the way, Sugar. It's really.
No worries on the list, man. Don't watch my face.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I was there for a week. I was quite surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's nice. It's. I mean, it's Dutch and French, right? So it's but it's I almost feel like a bit of Europe in the Caribbean.
That's what I would think. Yeah.
It's hot. It's hot, and it's clean and well maintained. I mean, it's some parts are dodgy. You can tell where the juggling happens if it happens. Like you know the streets. You know exactly. You just drive to the place. Okay, this is a span by water. So you know how that goes. So I think context is very helpful, and one of the things in terms of financial planning, I don't think enough, and I'm critical of financial planners because I don't think they are able to take their clients from the start to when they start to become wealthy.
Agree.
But they lose them once they're in that phase of just budgeting. You know what I'm saying? And then what happens is but then I just as somebody could just perhaps suppose I don't budget. I don't suppose if I'm in such a situation I cannot budget. How can you help me?
I have that great definitely as well. I have a similar thing with advisors in the industry. Not that I think advisors are necessarily bad people, but I mean the fact that majority of advisors are attached to a brokerage is kind of weird, no?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, like me as an investor, who's so let's say no name calling. Let's say I'm at a broker and they're bringing an IPO. How do I know that them telling me to buy the IPO is in my best interest and not their best interest? My advisor called me and said, IPO come, rate. How do I know? So that's always been like a worry of mine. And do the advisors have the freedom to spot other things that they see and be able to say, okay, based on my thing, like let's say I'm 24, so I can take on a whole heap of risk, become the whole portfolio, make it back. There'll be time, God's willing. But
I think finish your point because I actually have to say about this. So you finish it.
Yeah, so it's just interesting. I mean, like it really started, Danai as an independent, and I was like, whoa, I don't really know anybody else that does it, and so it's like, there could be a conflict of interest right there. Is it conflict of interest is a legal term? I don't want to get too deep, but
it's not. You're not wrong. It's. I mean, for me, right? I look at. I only sell. I don't sell anything I don't believe
Mm-hmm.
in. That's me. Yeah. Remember. Let's backtrack. So and this is we're talking now the finances of the industry. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Most brokerage houses, I think, locally and globally, but more locally, because our market's a bit younger. I think JC is 60 years old. I think the NYC is 180 years old, and NASDAQ is like 40 years or something like that. But NASDAQ was started 100 years after NYC and
Mm-hmm.
has the same amount of listing. Let's pull it up right now because I don't like to be wrong. NYC was opened in formation 1792. That's how many years, Sean? 200,
Up. Oh,
200
wow.
and,
This is the wrong calculator.
230,
Something like that. 17, how much? 1770?
92,
1792, 30, yeah.
230, right?
Mm-hmm.
NASDAQ was formed in, hold on, 1971. So there are 1792. So it's 100 the NASDAQ is what? 51?
And NASDAQ was when which year?
1971, right? So they have the same number
Of
of
listings.
listings now, or close enough. The point I'm making is NYC is
Over 100 years old.
230 years old. JSC is 60. So it's 172 years on us. So you can understand why we will not be as developed as them yet, right?
Oh,
The point,
definitely, yeah.
the
As well
point
as our economy. Mm-hmm.
absolutely. The point I'm making though is locally, if you look at how firms earn, it's not really from advisory
True.
as like in terms of stock trading by individuals for clients. More often than not. I mean, I can't say that for GK Capital or Latin, but I can say that for most others, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at it, they generate their revenue from unit trust fees or collective investment scheme fees, in some cases, investment banking. But those who make money from investment banking usually have robust, right, IP advisor cores, like
Mm-hmm.
Inquiry, like GK Capital, whether in number or activity.
Activity here.
But the rest of them just have advisors there to tell clients hello.
So it feels.
You know what I'm saying? Because
I'll let
they,
you say that, but that's how it
they would
feels.
love to say that it's a core focus, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not. So because of that, that's now why you start to have this tension now with expectant clients, and then you have, I hate to say it, but maybe persons who are not built to serve clients like that. So I can speak from Mayberg, that's where I am. Was 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 that's where I started, and
Mm-hmm.
their thing was we need you to create value as an advisor. Now, for
Mm-hmm.
me, I said, well, I'm going to go into equities because the only way I'm going to catch and pass these guys is if I'm able to deliver a superior rate of return for clients.
Mm-hmm.
So then it became a thing of, well, if I'm going to give me that money, I need to know everything. So then I made it a point of duty to know everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a walking Bloomberg terminal, and but then I'll go on to selling as well. So obviously that would have created some differential. The point I'm making though, it's not really about me. The point I'm making though is that it's not a core part of focus, but the name would suggest that it is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I think the problems ensue. Now, thank God the JSC has brought JTrader on board. So that now allows for the creation of that ecosystem. And now the creation of the advent of independent advisors who are very knowledgeable, like that.
Big up Dana every time.
Respect, licensed and all that, able to disseminate information and to sustain himself from that service.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of which is what happens in the USA. So I think that's going to be the wave. The
I
wave is
would
going
think
to
so
be
too.
towards independent advisors going through the licensing process, the FSC, and being able to guide clients and be compensated for that.
Do you think that the advisors are at the financial level of the requirements. Because I think it's what 10 mil, which shouldn't be steep, but
10 mil in terms of assets.
yeah, personal.
Yeah, I don't think that's not difficult to
I don't
achieve.
think that's steep, you know.
I mean, you may have to be a little further along. It could be anything, right? Could be inheritance, could be whatever. I mean, 10 million is like
Mm-hmm.
80,000 US, 70,000. I don't really think.
Something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that's
whatever. You would need. Yeah, I
yeah.
don't think that's even necessary, but okay. Yeah.
You sure it wasn't
I
on
don't
on the
know. Have
thing?
a look.
I
I'm
think
just
I think it was on the thing.
okay.
I think it was. But I mean, we were looking at it not to do it, but because I can't talk to people. I mean, like I can do these interviews and stuff. I can't talk to people like that. But so yeah, we were just checking it out just to see what it would be. I think advisor personal was 10 million in assets, and you'd have had to have the experience within the industry before. And I think if you wanted to become a dealer, the company had to have 50 million, and you have to have at least one director with 10 million.
I
There
know
was a
what
there was a there was a financial thing to it.
I know about that 50 million one
The
for
50
sure.
million one. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I think if you wanted to be an advisor independent, I think it's 10 million.
Good. That's a good. It's going to say more of it. Just like how you've seen the rise of information, the rise of what we're doing.
Hmm. And
It's
I'm
just
and the rise of the retail trader in Jamaica because of the
yeah,
same thing. I mean,
yeah.
look at it. Everybody's on them J trader and running up and down in them group chat and on the Twitter and all of that, trying to get the information, and on our YouTube and Learn Grow Invest and Kalila, big up everybody,
Yeah.
you know.
It's
But yeah,
wonderful.
everybody's open.
It's
It's
amazing to see. I
indeed.
mean, I have to be careful what I say these days because
You know, we're gonna grab it.
I remember I went somewhere with some guys once. It's one story actually,
Hmm.
and people are coming up to me and at me and them and saying, "Also, you guys going IPO soon?"
Hello.
I
That's
swear,
not that's not how that works.
I'm very serious about it.
That's
It actually was a meeting to discuss that, but we couldn't talk about that.
yeah, cause like that's not how that works at all. You can't just get up and say that.
And I just say, "Yo, no more meetings at this bar. We have to go country." Because
Yeah.
yeah, it's created that whole thing of personalities. It's made personalities out of the players or the practitioners in the business, which is it's just fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but it just means that we have to be more conscious of what we say. We know we say
Yeah.
and
Because I
where we
mean, God, that happened to me too, where not not direct thing, but like not the
say.
same exact thing, but somebody we were organizing a meeting, and we suggested a location, a place that um we're known to frequent. You know, the man said, "Look, I am known to frequent there as well, but given the nature of this, I'd rather we discuss it over such place." I said, "All right, cool." That was of course, we sign up documents and things, so can't do talk up, but
Yeah,
yeah, I
yeah, sure.
mean, it was an interesting little meeting, and man say, given the nature of the meeting, you never wanted to be known at that place because same reason I say like people that may be frequent may
Yeah,
recognizing what is going down and
absolutely,
them thing that.
absolutely.
So I definitely get that. And I mean it was a shocker for me too because of course me you know me, I'm just like I not gonna say nothing. So
Mm.
I'm like, all right. Um I'll link you wherever you say, you get me? And we need to
It
talk.
comes
We
it
need
comes
to
with the
talk.
territory, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, man.
People ran tell me link him at the car wash already, Had some information he needed to share.
That's actually very true.
So,
That's
I
very,
say, okay, link by the car wash. I didn't go link him.
that's very
But,
true.
but he did message me and said, link by the car wash.
Yeah,
Yeah, man, is how it has to be.
it is what it
Uh,
is. Yeah, man.
but as we talk about advisory,
Yeah,
I'm bringing it back to the market a little bit.
yeah,
Your, your company, we've been going for a minute, so I want to touch on the company that the advisors and the brokerages said to do not participate in
yeah,
the offer,
yeah.
which came out and dropped some strong results. Talk to me about JFP. I was saying 70% revenue growth.
Yeah,
Talk
I
to it.
mean, it was a very interesting Christmas. I tell you why, because listen, when you get in finance, if you get bothered by things like that, it's just not the game for you.
Mm-hmm.
Especially as a stockbroker. Stockbroker, you're right or you're wrong. One or two. You can't hide behind, you know, explanations or whatever. Either right or wrong.
Yep.
For the life of me, I couldn't understand why more persons never took the time to try and understand the business and to ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
So I said to people, don't look at who is making noise. I said to them, look at who's silent.
Mm-hmm.
Because we were not the only broker who wanted that deal.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I had to pitch for the deal as my clients.
Interesting, given the other one that you had, that one.
Which one? Yeah.
The spiritual one and the share director.
Yeah.
I still had to pitch it.
I had to pitch for my deal. I had to pitch for the deal. It wasn't just handed to me. I mean, I know I made the most compelling pitch. Like, we made the most compelling pitch, but I had to go pitch for the deal.
Mm-hmm.
So the other brokers who obviously weren't successful, I think they just said nothing because if they wanted to do it, they must have liked it.
Yep.
We went at length to explain to the person that, listen, just COVID, this, that, and the other. And it wasn't even just COVID because they had a great year the year before. It was timing differences.
Yeah.
Right? There was no doubt about their capacity to earn. There's no doubt about, Spanish, Esotel, no, they did all of this.
Right, it's currently in the S Hotel, by the way.
So I'm always here. Oh, the West was one. Anyway, so they did this. They're making, and they said the Rock Hotel was delayed, and that impacted the time of their booking. This was all disclosed,
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm hearing brokers coming out and saying this or that, I said, I actually sat in my house. I think I was having my drink, and I said, these guys have, by virtue of their opinions that are wildly divergent to mine, have positioned me to be perceived as the greatest broker ever. Because if I'm right and they're wrong, they're on record as having just been on the wrong side of history.
Yep.
Right? Now, this is just my general read of JP. Always was. I said it in a thread on Twitter. They're an M&A candidate, meaning for the buying of anybody. They can substitute imports by virtue of the supply chain shifting if more stuff is made locally. Their net margin, their gross margins are like 50 to 60%. I mean, what more do you want from a business like that?
And people concerned about the contract nature of the thing, but if you look at the client base and how it's made up, you should know that there's going to be a little variability, but it's going to be pretty strong.
You know what they did? They showed that they don't understand business. Because if you're in business, which business has recurring contracts? If you think about it, like if you're in food, people have to go in the supermarket and buy food. For argument's sake, right?
Yep.
But the supermarket shelves that the food is on, they probably make it. I actually sat down and I said, this is going to be embarrassing for a lot of people. And I actually think that this is actually not even scratching the surface in terms of what they're capable of and what they're likely to do. Remember as well, if they're doing contracts, some of these contracts don't last 3 months. They put out the release about the Montego Bay airport. It's $1 million US. That's not done yet.
Yep.
And that has started. Right? So they could make any amount of profit this year. And by the way, don't think that, I don't want to throw anybody on the bus, but don't think it's just external opinions had questions. And I had to say to people that, listen, I've even said to somebody, I said, listen, you just need to, I didn't read any of the reports because I just knew that it's just going to be straight line analysis, which doesn't take into account the variability of business or whatever. As I said before, if you can't be a stockbroker and understand business, then it's just, you're not going to catch a lot of things. Right? And I said, listen, just collect them because you're going to have to tell a lot of people. You're going to have to tell a lot of people, I told you so. And
that's a strong first part for say I told you so.
Yeah, I mean, it's and it is. I'm not exaggerating when I say that literally the best is way ahead of them. This is not a flash in the pan. This is a very exciting time to be a JFP shareholder. I bought in. I don't buy into IPOs usually, but I bought
I,
some.
did I buy that IPO? No, I don't think I bought that IPO, but
I
let
bought
me
some.
check if I have no, because I did have an order in the queue,
I bought some.
and then with the market dropping this week, it may have hit my part. I think I had cash timing differences with that IPO.
Yeah.
Couldn't free up the cash in time, so I had to say, leave it alone. Yep, order filled. So I am currently a shareholder at JFP.
The thing is, it's they have. I mean, all the hotels that you see coming, they're gonna have a party. They're gonna have business outside the country. Mitchell said all of this. This was
Mm-hmm.
publicly disclosed. Again, you can't discount M&A possibilities. So any business, anytime I buy into a business, I look at it from the standpoint of how can they get bigger?
Mm-hmm.
You know, how will they grow? I don't buy businesses that are stagnant. I look at wide user bases. I look at margins. I look at revenue. I don't believe that. I like growing revenues, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't think you need to grow your revenues aggressively to be a good investor. To me, you need to have good
Mm-hmm.
margins.
Good margins are key for me as
Have
well.
good margins. So when I see 60% gross margin, 62%, I get very jumpy over that. That kind of stuff, you know, lets my
Mm-hmm.
blood start circulating even more efficient. Like I get very, I guess, get very motivated and excited by that.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I said, okay, and then they hold the admin cost stable. So all they really need is business to come in. So remember, so every month, I start from zero. So every month I say, all right, well, I for sell some iPhones, or for sell this, or sell that. There's always something to do.
Mm-hmm.
I can identify with that variable nature. But if someone's going to be thinking, oh, well, I get my salary every month, and then I forget the next month, and this is that, but they don't really realize that their salary is not as stable as they may think, because it's only stable to the extent that the company doesn't say, well, we
Makes
don't need that
money.
department anymore.
Yeah.
It's that false sense of security. Business and capitalism as a whole is a very variable exercise,
Yep.
and comforts the enemy. So the one school of thought should be, and the real question I should have been asking is, the question I should have been asking is, suppose something happens to the main driver of revenues in the company. That's the question I should be asking. Because
Strong.
that's what businessman has been doing this for a long time. Chances are I'm going to continue doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Because the brokers themselves, that's why they have unit trust, because they want to live off management fees.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But then suppose them have big redemptions.
True.
It's not so stable after all, is it?
No, not at all.
You know? So that's why they have to have deposits and all that. But then you have a disruption like what happened now with interest rates. So the
Mm-hmm.
point I'm making, Sean, is that they missed it. They missed it badly. And if it was my people, they would have gotten an earful from me. Because I don't think you can make those kind of egregious errors. And you other things, yeah, and I don't want to knock. I don't comment on other person's deals because my voice carries far, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I have to start to wonder, did the same measure of scrutiny get applied to other transactions in general? I never heard it. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't read those reports. But even at a glance, none of that was coming to me.
True.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So people ask and wonder, why is it JFP? Why JFP? It's not personal to me because I say it's business. But we
Mm-hmm.
have to ask the question you're talking about. I heard somebody talk about low barrier to entry. I'm like, are you
Yeah, I
kidding?
was like, that one I heard it and I was like, that's crazy to me.
You
I think
think
that one
you
was on Twitter. No?
No, it was VM. I didn't read it, so I can't pinpoint it, but I know I heard something to that effect somewhere.
I heard it for you. And
And
I
I'm
was
like,
like, bro, these people been doing this.
you think you can just you need to
And
set up a
this
factory, get the expertise, get the clients, then get the business to execute. You
before you
think you
can
can
disrupt them,
do
I'm
that
like,
tomorrow? And then you
come
have to
on.
work on collecting, getting more work, staff, blah, 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 blah. You think this is how it go? Get real, man.
Heavy capital outlay, man.
Yeah, man. So they should feel very uncomfortable about that. And I'll probably forgive them in a year. I'll let it go in a year, or rather, I forgive them. They're probably just some silly guys. It's all good.
I'm gonna tell you, man, it's interesting,
Yeah.
because I don't know as well if we know how to. if you know, like if the analysts know how to properly look at these type of companies. As I
But
say, it may be a case of not understanding business. I may not put it so far. I don't want to step on the one they talk, but you know, I mean, like, what if they just? I mean, so for example, look at companies we got. We got Spur Tree, we got JFP, we have Eddie Focal, now we have Dollar, right? Now, of those, you can kind of say, all right, we can kind of get Spur Tree because you know, they produce the spices, they have the Aki subsidiary, can figure out what can go on. And as we know, that one was clear to people, everybody loved it. Eddie Focal was weird. I actually think I only saw 2 reports on Eddie Focal. Um, and I think that may be the reason is just that like people kind of weird about it, like it, doing the technology stuff, but it's new, it's so different. Like it's the first company that like I mean I create to an extent, but Eddie Focal is fully digital, you know. So like that kind of situation, I don't know how much that played into it. And then like Dollar, no, we kind of understand Dollar because we have like access to compare it to. It's exciting and those kind of things. But so I mean, I've seen 2 reports on them so far. And then again, those are affirmative to the buy, you know. So I mean, like, do you think it could be that JFP and Eddie Focal? Well, we're going to talk about JFP. That's your deal. That it could be that it, as you say, really they just never understood how to apply the value to it. But since it's a manufacturing company and you have your manufacturing models, you just have to run the numbers.
Yeah, I think it was it just revealed a lack of understanding of the variability of business. I think as well. I mean, I think I did hear about some. I think an accounting error here or there. I don't remember exactly what the outcome of that was. I think it would have to be probably misstated. Whatever it was, I didn't really get into specifics of it. I don't know. But I think there was some. I don't want to say misunderstanding. I think lack of understanding. The truth is this: you can only have so many banks, you know. You can only have so many insurance companies. As the economy starts to develop, you're going to have more companies like JFP coming to market. And I think one of the things that needs to be accepted as well is that, so like in China, if you are in a bank as a loans officer, and you would lend, you would assess loans to a sector. So like if I am going into commercial banking, me, Ryan, my focus would likely be investment banks because I know where to look, how to assess them. Similarly, if if somebody who was in manufacturing but breaking it out now and they were in no food manufacturing. If a food manufacturer wanted to borrow, that guy would be assigned to the transaction because of his expertise and knowledge in the space. By that same token, I guess where I'm going with it is analysts need to have some measure of specialized skill or an appreciation for it or access to it to be able to analyze the various companies that are coming up because some of them are going to fall outside the mold of what is customary. It's kind of why a lot of persons misread the lab because they don't understand the drivers within that space. There's a lot more that could be said about that, but I'll decline to say anything where that's concerned, except to say that the great opportunity that the lab was missed because, as I said before, people don't understand what the wheels that turn the business. And that is why I believe these issues surfaced with and some of these guys just got it wrong. And I think, but they are the analysts. This is where bread and butter. They're not supposed to get it wrong. You don't give an opinion when you do not participate. You have to own that, you know. I don't make you own it. Because your clients give me. There are people who call. I don't really deal with clients as much these days. Next to never. Apart from the base that exists, I don't really get too involved. But there are people who call, wanted to buy, and they called me and said, you know, I hear this, do not participate for my favorite broker. What should I do? I said, what are you asking me?
Yeah, you have to make a decision.
I'm not going to be here to try to change your mind. You see what I'm saying?
Get it.
The US market, when you're wrong on something or you miss, you have to own that, you know.
Yeah, man, you get punished for.
You don't just get a free pass to say, oh, this and that and whatever. Right? And what I keep
Look on
saying is,
them short seller they will blow up. Melvin Capital.
all right, good. You don't have the luxury that of just saying, oh well, you got it wrong, man. Next time. No, it don't work. So. You make a bold talk, own it. So this is something with JFP right there. Hold on, I have the numbers I seem to pull up. If you really sit down and watch this for this long, I take my hat to them. That must mean that
Honestly, anybody that's still here at this point, this is the juicy part of people are going to want, but if you have to wait, you
big
got
up
to
you.
wait.
Big up you. If this is
Yeah, man,
your
honestly.
story. Yeah. All right. So they did half of their 2021 revenues in a quarter.
In a quarter.
Right? And
in the first quarter. Let's give it more context at that. You get me?
Right? And they did gross margins of 70%.
Crazy.
Right?
Crazy.
70%. So you look at that now and you say, okay, their admin costs were flat, meaning if you multiply it by 4 to come out and compare it to 2012, 2021, when they never cut staff, it's the same or it's less. Right? Their net margins are 3, 4, 9, 6, 6, 7.
It's about 30, no?
31.6%.
Yeah.
The only people I can tell you who are at
30% net margin. It's crazy.
You see what I'm saying? So when I look at this, I hear some loose talk. I say, what? If I sit there and ask myself, you guys not thinking this thing through. You're not acquainted well enough with the reality, the facts of the circumstance.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Because I'm like, if I'm going to take a chance, and again, as I said, I don't comment on people's views, right? Any focus is 2 million, 2 million profit. So I think 50%. I expect them to do better. But I know Gordon personally, so I don't comment because let's just say we have history, so I know a lot. The point though is 31% is still very aggressive. It's higher than Spurtree by a long way.
It is.
See? So then thing that when I look at that, I said, but an investment in this could be humongous. Because if they had 400 million revenue in a bus, at that profit thing is 120 million or whatever number is. It's not joke money.
No, serious money that.
You know what I mean?
Serious money that.
So I think some analysts are probably feeling very uncomfortable. I'm sorry, guys. Q2 is supposed to be good as well. That's my read of it. Q2.
Yeah, let's.
They're not impacted by hurricanes.
Yeah, I said that,
Huh?
I said that in the group. It was a hot little debate in the group how the JFP should be played. Cause you know our style. We in, we out, we have some old for long. So it was like, how should we play JFP? And I mean I said that up because of course you and I talk and I am Rand doesn't give me information that I shouldn't get. If I get it, it's public or it's public right after I get it. Like we'll be talking and a release come out. But I've parted around long enough now to know what certain things mean. So at the time when it came up in the group, I said I think JFP is gonna be good the whole year. I said the whole year. I'm just gonna. I said when I get in that company, I'm gonna hold it the whole year. Whole year.
Yep. I mean, look at another good one that was so. I'm close to John Jackson, as the world probably knows by now. And he said to me once that was it SOS? He compared SOS to something that had done amazingly well in the past. And I said, all right, well, I'll buy some. It was about a lot, but about like $300,000 or Jamaican dollars at 5. I mean, when I saw their last set of numbers, what he said to me was, I think it was to the effect of SOS can grow like Courts, the furniture department store.
Yeah.
And he said, like in 5 years, that's the kind of thing they could emulate within that office seating and office outfitting business.
Mm-hmm.
And they had lumpy revenues as well. And what did they do? They went and bought the book manufacturer.
Seek.
Could that happen in the case of another business with lumpy revenues? I don't know. But there are a lot of businesses out there for sale.
Mm-hmm.
To the
Especially
point,
right now.
especially right now. As times get harder, companies with cash and that are generating cash flow can buy others.
Mm-hmm.
So some investors are going to make a lot of money this year. I hope
Big
to be
up what
one.
it takes.
I hope to be one. Yeah, I hope to be
Indeed.
one.
I
Because
mean,
yeah, tell him.
I have to play in the public space right now, you know. 'Cause I don't got my money up like you. but
Buy what you
but
can. No, no, but I
what
mean
I
like
buy what you can,
buy.
yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I'm talking to the Jamaica Stock Exchange.
Them deaf, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm making I
I,
going to be making as much as I can.
what? Man, remember I started with when I was buying Berger, we were buying wife. Me and the wife was buying like some months 10 grand, $20,000. Yeah, sometimes get a little money and just a little
Yeah,
bit
true.
more, but it's every month we are doing something. But guess what? Every 10,000 at 2 or 3 at 20 was 60,000.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Every
It's just like
100,000,
that.
600 grand.
Yeah, I mean, look at Spurtrie's performance.
Yeah, you
You know,
know. I think
I had to cut a lot up by 4. I'm sorry. That's just
no, that's
for the
no,
no.
4 hours are good. Four, you sold at 4?
Yeah, a lot. I still have a
That,
very
that,
very little bit. I think like 4% of the portfolio.
that would have been that's a good sale price. They're gonna grow as well. So I look at businesses. I look
I
at
still have 4
businesses.
buckle downstairs. And it's
Huh?
4 new buckle. It's not the same 4 buckle them from the IPO. I have 4 new buckles for 3 downstairs.
I look at businesses and I say, how will these guys grow?
Mm-hmm.
And then when I look at that and I say, all right, and then I listen to the CEO's commentary very closely.
Yeah.
And the second I see that, I say, all right, we're going with it. Same thing with me and RJR, which I have to credit John for that. I mean,
Big up John Jackson
I
for that
held,
one. For real.
I held when it through the Christmas period that disappointed some, and I held with 24 after buying at 2, still holding
I
because
was just gonna ask if you still have yeah.
I don't sell. I mean, I sell
I
sometimes,
mean,
but I don't.
yeah.
I mean, I expect Lasco. Lasco is not doing any more capex. They're advertising everywhere. I think they report tomorrow or Monday or Tuesday, but chances are it's tomorrow. They had a dividend declaration and a board meeting on the 25th to declare a dividend. So I've been checking to see when I'm going to bust the dividend numbers because,
Mm-hmm.
well, I'm a check, you know.
Yeah.
But the point is that I buy these things to hold for long. I try to buy as much as I can
Mm-hmm.
within the realms of reason, of course, because I still have to live.
Mm-hmm.
My whole thing is to forget about it. You know, I cannot tell you if Lasco triple tomorrow and sell it because Lasco.
Brother,
No,
I'd have to lock it in. I'm sorry. And I mean, that's very that's very different. But my money is small.
I'd have to say the upside. No, but it's the habit, you know. Sean, the habit is what it is. Until you see where the end is, until you can see in your mind's eye where the end game is for them,
Mm-hmm.
then I will hold. Now, if I think they have hit their ceiling, well, I mean, Dolphin Co. I don't get no leap for Dolphin Co. I made an order for a substantial amount at 6. I get some and it got 20 something. I said, what am I gonna do? It's not like it's no money that I will take and go put into something else, then leave it. You know, I'd rather just forget it. I don't feel like emotionally connected to it to go and sell it for little and no, even though it grew 4 times. But a blessing, I can tell you, is more than I'd have started a portfolio with that. Listen, let me check this out. Probably a bar bill now, to be honest with you.
Again, not a lie. He
Huh?
refuses to let me pay for stuff when we go.
Yes.
No, it's all right.
I
I got
think
one.
people there don't make no sense. No matter me face my bill.
I ain't complaining. Just saying.
My bill.
Well, I mean, no, we kick off both the 30 still.
You can pay next
But,
time.
all right, I'll pay you next time.
Okay, next time. Yeah, so what else is up now? So that is where my headspace is in terms of how we look at big picture, big ticket items.
Mm. I mean, we've been going for a minute, though. That's why I'll close out with 2 things. From one, we What are you looking forward to for the rest of the year? Anything exciting you can share?
Right. Yeah, man. So for us, we have we actually have a lot of things in the works. We have two IPOs definitely. I think one is a little after the summer. One is in Q4.
Mhm.
We have when is this video coming out?
A few weeks time, maybe a month.
Few
At
weeks.
most.
Oh. So by the time this video is aired, we should have done a pretty significant stock trade that would be of interest to a number of persons. So we'll see how that goes, but that should be. It won't be like $1 billion. It's not a whole leap, but it's a good enough size trade. It's public, so it has to, be this one.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have,
Oh, nice.
yeah, we have another one that may be up there as well. That will make the waves, that will make the news. We'll have that's what I'm involved in. We have actually I can tell you, I don't know if it's going to be this year. My hope is that it's this year, but the scope of it is massive. I mean, we're talking a multi-billion-dollar deal that we we would be involved with. I think I sourced it, and brought it to the big house. So let's see how that goes. But that again would be aggressive. I mean, listen, my whole thing is, listen, if I'm at work, I'm working on something. That's just how I've been since I was at Right? That's how I was conditioned while there, and I've just practiced my whole career being that way. And there's just so many people and opportunities out there. It doesn't hurt that we had these IPOs that got some publicity
Mm-hmm.
and that we
No.
actually publicized our deepening of the relationship with Strachan, among others. Eh? So we have some deals that I think sorry about that the public will be able to participate in. At the very least, the public will be aware of,
Mm-hmm.
and that will definitely position me as well, just in terms of consistent activity. It's not. I think for me, I'm not so concerned. Like I want to do, the usual IPOs, whatever. What I really focusing on is
Mm-hmm.
value creation. You know, we
And
where
it all comes full circle, huh?
yeah, value creation. Like where when I can say, oh, so I did in terms of like public company shares changing hands. I've
Mm-hmm.
done at least two that made the newspaper. People don't know it's me, but it's advice.
Is you.
And both times it created strong value for the buyers.
Mm-hmm.
So that is like taking investment advice and analysis and putting it on steroids and advancing. And you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like having the buyers, the people benefit as a result. And so
Yeah.
I'll be looking at two companies and I'll say, listen, what do you think about buying that one? And they were like, all right, are they for sale? I said, I'll come back to you. You know? And then you start
Ryan Shorts one.
you start to pull it together. Yeah, I mean, Steve's like the guy, one of the guys I really look up to. And then from that then you get fees and I get some of them. And everybody wins. You see what I mean? So like
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of what it's about for me, And for as long as I'm with Grace Kennedy Capital, like they will benefit from that. And I'm really benefiting as well being on the team. So, but that's kind of where my headspace is to create expansive opportunities consistently. I don't want to do it once. I want to do it like if it happens once, it's the new floor. So then we'll build on that. You see me? And then we'll build on that again. So it's like, all right, so what's next?
Yeah.
And with the IPOs now, again, the next step is going to be mergers because
Mm-hmm.
I have these relationships with all these companies that I still have because at the end of the day, it's my relationship. Everybody knows that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say, yo, why don't you? I think it's just a matter of saying, all right, let's go try and buy them. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah. Is that
Maybe,
work or don't work? Yeah.
huh?
Is that work or don't work?
Yeah, it may work, it don't work. But then there may be people who say, well, let's go for it. People call me all the time. They say, yo, you have anything selling? I said, I don't know.
What are you looking to buy?
To buy. Oh, let
Yeah.
me know this, you like that aside. Let me make a call and come back to you. You know? So that is what I'm going for. So that is I'm 39. I've been in this game for 12 years. I started young enough. I was not younger than, I mean, young guys that start at 21, 22. So I've always felt like I've had to work extra hard to hold my place and to earn my place in the business. And
Mm-hmm.
thank God it's happened that way. But I'm very focused on multiplying my output,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we are in fertile ground to do that. There's nothing
See,
stopping us doing that in Jamaica. It's
agree.
just interesting that I'm more on the equity side. These other guys are on the debt side. But I think lending money is easy.
Yeah,
I think to do a stock trade is difficult.
true.
You know? But that's where the money is. So I said,
Mm-hmm.
listen, I mean, I said easy, I don't mean easier. Okay, if I assess risks and blah, blah.
Of
So
course. Yeah, okay. Not easy.
not,
Point
not
blank.
easy,
you
but it's still, it's more popular. Like it's a lower entry point for the average banker.
know. Mm-hmm.
Eventually, equities will be that, but it's just not there yet.
True.
So why you don't have many stockbrokers firms? You have firms with stockbrokers licenses, but you strip out their stockbrokers revenue from individual trades. It's not much.
True.
We can stand on
Yes.
our own too. That I know for a fact.
Big up GK.
Yeah, we're stockbrokers. And I say that to anybody gonna know it's true. So
Mm-hmm.
my whole thing is, let's continue to drive this thing forward. I think platforms like this and others that we have mentioned before have a part to play in stimulating and generating interest, and as well transmitting information. It's and I think it's going to be, as I said to you, I think the persons, I can't tell you when the explosion is going to happen. I can only tell it's going to happen. I can't tell you the size of it, but I can only tell it is going to happen. And
Yeah.
a lot of money is going to be made very soon, local markets in the value space, because with this correction, if you look at it, the lab hasn't fallen much. Phosphate, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, last time hasn't fallen much. RGR hasn't fallen much. The value companies have held up.
Yep.
Why is that? It's value. If you
Because
don't,
value,
you can buy the farm company at a lower price, which is not a bad idea.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or you're going to continue to buy value, or you do both because they'll be falling into the value bracket. No, but guess what happens? Value at some point is going to explode in line with
That's
the
the
fundamentals. And fundamentals, and I can close on this, is never a bad word. It's only a bad word when I suppose they're lagging the others, but everybody want to hang on to fundamentals. No,
mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll leave it there. I think last said that
Yeah,
I
man.
think a lot of the companies that overshot their runway
Mm-hmm.
will be exposed shortly as well. So I'll leave it at that.
Indeed. Thank
Yes,
you for
sir.
coming in
Big up.
as usual. Every time. Every time. It
Respect.
always end up like this. The people, I think this is the first video that the people have had where it's just you and I just going on about it. This is how it is all the time.
Yeah, sure.
Me and Ryan sit down for hours and talk, and the only thing I say, we're not drinking no rum.
I know, right? I
Yeah,
know. Next time.
indeed.
Next
But we'll
time.
have to link up soon, man. We'll have to link up soon.
Definitely.
All
Definitely.
right. Thanks for coming in again,
Big up,
people.
sir. Yes,
If
sir.
you're still here, thank you too for staying with us this long.
Respect.
Remember to like, share, comment, subscribe. You don't know. All right,
I
it's
will do it soon.
876 again. Yeah, we'll drink soon.
Let's do it after the deal. When the deal closes, you'll hear about it. We can talk about it.
We
We
can
can
talk.
share
Def,
the
man.
story.
And it can't be so long again next time. Make sure.
No,
It's
man. It shouldn't be. It
months.
won't be that. It won't be months. It will be weeks this time.
All right, cool.
All
All
right,
right.
Mark. Thank you.
People 876 again. Thanks again, Ryan.
Respect.
See you next time.
Ah.